To the day when Pope Francis was elected Pope, I remember very clearly, and especially, the look on his face, the poor man, he looked like a deer in the headlights, when he came out on that balcony, and he just looked at all these people gathered in St. Peter's Square, all looking up and cheering and not sure what to make of the whole situation. And then I think we all saw that there was that moment where he just, something clicked inside. He asked the people for a blessing, and then he bowed and waited for them to pray for him. And from then on, there's a sense that he knew that this is where God was leading him, and he just had to go with where God sent. I'm sure he had expected to go in, elect the new guy, and go home, and then continue with whatever. But God had different plans. And I think about this especially today as we celebrate St. Matthias, because as he was, as this whole procedure is happening, I wonder what he was going through his mind as, ultimately he realized he might be chosen to do this. As they set out the criteria for who would be the one who could become a member of the 12, someone who had been with them since John the Baptist and then all the way up to his being taken up. And what was going in his heart and in his mind about this whole thing. And many times I think we also, in our life, our spiritual life, our life as disciples, I think we can get into a point where we say, okay, God, I'm okay now. I'll be fine just like this, so just don't bother me with anything else. This will be fine. And it doesn't work that way. God isn't really concerned about what makes us comfortable. He's concerned about making sure that we spread the gospel. And that's what we're about. And I'm not saying that God doesn't love us, but that we are part of the mission of Jesus. And, we can come up with all sorts of excuses, like I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I got all this going on, and I'm not really healthy, I don't know enough, and all these kinds of things. We can come up with all sorts of excuses about why we're not able to do something. But really, the most essential element is exactly what we heard in our gospel today. Can we live out Jesus' command to love one another and to love each other such that we give our life for others? In the most recent school shooting in Colorado, a young man put himself between the shooter and others and his other classmates, and he died from that. And it was not a surprise to any of his family or friends. They said that's just how he was. A loving, caring, and protecting person. If a young person in that moment can catch upon that lesson of love and enact in it to give his life in such a way, how can we, with whatever background, experience, training, position we hold, how can we give any less? And I think that's a lesson for St. Matthias, is that where it's never too late to be called forth to do something for God, to build his kingdom. And instead of looking for tons of excuses why we can't do it, maybe we just need to work on our heart so that we are open to it when the call comes and we step into it with faith.